slowly. Dusted off about 20 times on his way to the net. Kuznetsov fires and scores!
Here's Tippett. He's got 2. He looks for a third. He scores! A beauty for Tippett.
Moving in on Bartosik. He scores! Oh, there he steps in. Martin and shoots. He scores! And this place goes crazy.
Welcome back into the Silky Mitts podcast here on Penn State Sports Night. Wow, lots of hockey news these past few days. The draft, free agency starts tomorrow. People are so happy. Anthony Desher has a big smile on his face because his team actually did something good for once.
Danny Briere.
That's not fair. They try occasionally.
Danny Briere has just been reversing all the terrible things that Chuck Fletcher has done over the past 4 years.
It's going to take a while.
It's so nice. It's so nice.
Josh Bartosik is also here. I think his team had a pretty good draft.
They always do. They always do. They got some really nice guys in the later rounds. That's their specialty. They love their Russians now, apparently. 5 of them in this draft.
The Flyers do too.
Flyers love their big Russians.
How did he fall to 7? How did he fall to 7?
Almost fell to 8, but you know what? I'm happy with Ryan Leonard. I'm excited to
noted perennial incoming perennial fourth liner Ryan Leonard.
Okay. He's the next Tom Wilson.
Alongside Connor McMichael on your fourth line.
Hey, the Bears won the Calder, okay? There's something positive there with those guys. Ethan Franks, come on.
Hey, at least your franchises still have an AHL team. I don't know what the heck's going on in Carolina. They don't have anything for next year.
If the Flyers never got rid of Mike Vecchione, completely different story. Okay.
What a name. Incredible.
Okay. So let's just get right into it. So the NHL draft just finished up yesterday. Obviously, Connor Bedard, it was like one of the biggest, deepest drafts in recent memory, probably since 2015 when McDavid went. Connor Bedard is officially a member of the Chicago Blackhawks. We had a few surprises in the first round, especially the first one being Leo Carlsson going first over Adam Fantilli.
I feel so bad for the
Ducks
fans who had the customized Fantilli
the Buckeye
jerseys.
State.
The Ducks fans had the customized Fantilli jerseys, and they were like, there was at least several of them, and I feel so bad for them because that's like $200 they'll never get back.
Well, at the same time, people are like saying, "Oh, it's a bad pick to pick Carlson over Fantilli."
He's a good player, but like it's just
but Leo Carlsson is not a bad, I guess, consolation prize. He's a really good player, and
it's just because the longest time everyone thought Adam Fantilli would be number 2.
He should have been also. The Columbus Wolverines are going to be really good this next year in terms
Johnson, Blankenberg, Fantilli.
Brindley.
I know I'm missing someone.
They also got Gavin Brindley in the
Gavin Brindley. Yeah, that's right.
That's a nice.
And they also have Zach Werenski.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on that ludicrous contract he has too.
Look, their blue line will.
They're gonna do so well under Mike Babcock.
The Columbus Blue Jackets will have the talent eventually when all these prospects are developing because they have Johnny Gaudreau, they have Patrick Laine, whatever he is at this point. They traded for Ivan Provorov. Thank you, Danny. And they also have Zach Werenski. If it stay healthy, you get all these prospects like David Jiricek, Adam Fantilli, who's going to set up Johnny Gaudreau. It's going to be perfect, or vice versa.
The main thing, like you mentioned, is health. They were so injured this last year; they could never get the young guys going.
No, exactly.
Not Marchenko. I'm thinking of someone else that has a name that starts with an M.
I know exactly. He's like
he's a hurdle legend.
Player.
He's very good, and he also torched. I think he had 2 hat tricks.
No, I know exactly who you're talking about.
I'll find him. I think
it's just Miroshchenko.
It might be actually Miroshchenko. Miroshchenko? Hold on. For some reason, I'm getting him mixed up with the Capitals prospect that we were talking about earlier, which, ew. It's Marchenko. It's close.
Yes.
Kirill Marchenko.
Kirill Marchenko. Yes, he's very good. Okay, so I want to talk about the winners and losers of the draft. Desher, you already know. Yes, the Flyers were one of the winners of the draft.
Can the Flyers
tell me why Matvei Michkov fell to the Flyers and your overall reaction of the Flyers draft and why they're winners, and also pick another team.
I will gladly tell you why they're winners. You know why? Because
this is Desher's podcast. He's been waiting for a long time for this.
Look, because the podcast we have on Com Radio, I was cheering for tanks all year long, and even though they didn't really tank correctly, they still got the second best player in this draft. And the only reason why he fell to 7 is because of the geopolitical issues that are happening in Russia right now. And the contract he has will keep him there until the 25-26 season. Now, Flyers fans, there are some of you freaking out because you don't like this, because because the Ivan Fedotov situation is very confusing and frustrating as well. I agree. But Matvei Michkov said it's his dream to play in the NHL. And he will play out the rest of that contract, or Comcast and their billions and billions of dollars will find a way to, do some negotiations, even though I don't think that's allowed recently. But he said he wants to come over. The whole story he's had with the Flyers, just how they met in secret. The Flyers training facility randomly closes down without warning. Who knows what's happening? It turns out they were secretly meeting with Matvei Michkov. And it's just, I think it's a match made in heaven. The Flyers have been missing a generational, he's potentially generational. Let's see how that works, but he's very elite just from the gun. And he's what the Flyers have been missing probably since Lindros. And arguably their greatest draft pick since Claude Giroux when I was like 5 years old. So just I'm very happy about this. I ran around the room. Cheris, I know you want a reaction. I didn't think I would need one just to record myself because I didn't expect him to fall to 7. But when Arizona said,
yeah, I was about to say,
when Arizona said the Russian team, I kind of pooped my pants a little bit, not gonna lie, because I thought that was it. But I remembered he's Michkov is St. Petersburg. And when I heard St. Petersburg with the Flyers, that's when I jumped up, ran around the room, and almost fell over because I have never been this happy about a draft pick. And Flyers fans, this is going to work. He will come over. He wants to be here. This rebuild window, this 3 years that he has, it's going to be perfect. The Flyers, they're not going to be good. They're going to get better draft picks next year. They're going to get an elite defenseman. Hopefully, that's what I like. And it's going to work out. And maybe we'll have a little parade on Broad Street 2029, 23. Okay. Maybe.
You don't want an Yzerman or a Celebrini next year?
I would be fine with those too, but I don't think the Flyers are exactly bad enough. So I will settle with Aaron Kivi-Haru because he is the best defenseman in the draft. And that's who they need. Because Oliver Bonk is good. Oliver Bonk is good.
Great name. I wanted him.
They're trading all these defensemen, so they need a good influx of young prospects. And Chair Bear, you said another team I thought won the draft. I'll save Chicago for one of you. I think Colorado. I think they did really well with Caleb Ritchie, because Caleb Ritchie he was an elite talent, but the only problem with him was his production went down due to a shoulder injury. So he played through it, and that's why his numbers were the way they were. But he could have went much higher. And now it's with the Avalanche, because the Avalanche, they have tons of talent, and I think he'll slide right in eventually because they got rid of Alex Newhook for some reason, for at least a better return or something like that. I don't know.
They got a first and a second for Alex Newhook.
Yeah, so Sakic, great job, but I think Ritchie will be perfect in Colorado. They also got Mikhail Gulyayev, a really, really good defenseman. And he was one of the ones I was eyeing down for the Flyers, but he's going to, if you put him with Kel McCarr, that's a lot of points. That is a lot. And just, I really, Joe Sakic is a guy who just knows what he's doing all the time. And the same could be said about Danny Briere, because we never talked about the Provorov trade. That was a phenomenal move. The Kevin Hayes trade was
I
something.
was so upset. That was supposed to be the trade of the century.
How do you think I feel? My team was involved. Like, there was a possibility.
Our group chat was going bananas.
It went from a first-round pick and a top-level prospect to a sixth-round pick in the span of 2 days.
Yeah, Travis Sanheim was supposed. We heard Kyrou. Like, there was so much involved, and but that's the thing. The Sanheim part of it, it's unlikely he's going to get moved now. He's going to be a Flyer for at least the next guaranteed 4 years. It's a no movement clause. The following of that is a modified no movement clause or no trade clause. So maybe things can be worked around with that. But having a 32-year-old Travis Sanheim on your roster when you're on the door of a Stanley Cup, hopefully, is probably something that you want to avoid. So, but Danny Briere basically tried to give him away, and no one took it. No one took him. But one more thing I forgot to mention about Michkov is that Danny Briere said the Flyers, or he convinced the Flyers to take him, and he wanted to play for a big hockey market, and he ghosted Arizona, and I don't blame him for doing that. So I think this whole Michkov situation, all this outside stuff, I think it's going to work perfectly fine. I think Flyers fans are going to be so happy to see this guy in the Wells Fargo Center, and like he's just been the piece that the Flyers have been missing for so long now. And one more thing before I finally shut up, because my mouth is getting dry at this point. I looked online trying to find some Michkov merch, or we're going to call it. His official team in St. Petersburg in the KHL, they have his jersey for like 7,290 ruble, the Russian currency, $92.
That's not bad.
Should I? Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
I have so many jerseys. I'm running out of room.
It's okay. I'm getting an Aiden Fink Nashville Predators jersey tomorrow. So,
all right, but I am ecstatic over Matvei Michkov, and I don't know. I kind of, just Capitals fans. I'm sorry. You could have traded down.
I'm fine with Ryan Leonard. I really am.
You're not getting Alex Ovechkin 2.0. The Flyers are getting Matvei Michkov 1.0 because he's not going to be Ovi. He's going to be Matvei Michkov.
All right, Josh.
Unlike Ovi, Michkov will break the scoring record. I had to throw it in there. I had to throw it in there. I'll just mention Chicago briefly. I mean, obviously, whoever gets a guy like Connor Bedard is automatically going to win the draft, but then finding a way to get Oliver Moore at 19, who should have been like a top 10,
the best skater in the draft, like
the best skater, and is going to torch it up at Minnesota next year. And if he decides to stay for an extra season, he'll play with Cole Yzerman, who is also going to torch the entire Big Ten.
Second pick next year, projected.
Second, or he honestly could go 1 and 2 next year. Going to be so like him.
Macklin Celebrini seems like
his brother. Macklin Celebrini's brother got drafted this year.
Yeah, but Celebrini and Yzerman can honestly go. I could see either one going 1 or 2. They're both so good.
Chicago
also got my favorite player, Marcel Marcel. Marcel Marcel is going to be a stud.
So, but I mean, look, finding a way. It's literally, we were talking about before that we started recording. It's literally Taze and Kane again, like getting 2 of the best prospects,
but potentially with even more talent.
I mean, we have to talk about Corey Perry is the best player to go on that line.
Of course, $4 million
for $4 million.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's for a year, but $4 million.
They're trying to get to the cap floor. I think that's why they paid him that much.
Oh no, they probably still have some dead cap from Seabrook. And
they also have Taylor Hall,
Bailey too. They bought out Bailey.
Well, Taylor Hall is pure capped up by the Bruins, who are also not re-signing Tyler Bertuzzi. He's a Carolina Hurricane for sure. Has to be for sure.
You know who's a Carolina Hurricane?
Matt Duchene.
As soon as July 9th hits.
Shut up, dude. No,
I want to talk about that real quick. What is the league thing, Gary, what are you doing? Look, you brought a cup to Vegas. Good for you. Pat yourself on the back because that was your plan all along. But you're just delaying a trade that's going to happen anyway. It's not cap circumvention. The Flyers signed him to the contract. The Canadiens didn't. It's not.
He's also, and I cannot stress this enough, a terrible defenseman.
Yes, he was minus 36 for the Flyers.
The fact that Carolina saw how he played against them in the bubble qualifier, saw Aho absolutely undress him, still signed him, and then saw him absolutely get torched again by Aho when he was in Philadelphia, and watched him get benched for the last 15 games of the season. And they're like, we want him back. The guy that was an absolute terrible player for us and got into fights at the end of every single playoff game and made everybody hate us. Let's bring him back on our only chance for a cup before all these guys become UFAs.
50% retained.
No sense. And they're trying to trade Brett Pesce. Tony
For a
DeAngelo is the
low-level
biggest
prospect.
downgrade from Brett Pesce. Tony DeAngelo is the biggest downgrade from Brett Pesce. They don't like it's
and they like because Anthony Sanfilippo, Flyers insider, said he knows who it is, and it sounds like a very Philly name, and Philly is a very Italian place.
Okay.
You're not getting Rizzo. You're
messing with Danny Briere now. This is not Chuck Fletcher anymore.
If Domino gives up Rizzo,
you gotta be careful.
Tony DeAngelo, I will actually break this laptop live on camera.
Well, it won't happen until July 9th. So
well, I had this laptop for about 9 more days then. I don't get what they're doing. I don't get, they're like, oh, we're gonna be very aggressive in looking at the best possible trades. We don't want Tyler Toffoli for dirt cheap. We don't want
the Devils are so scary.
Like we don't want all these other.
Still have yet
guys.
to name your winners and losers of the draft.
Our issue is forward depth scoring. So let's get a terrible defenseman that's going to make us a terrible team after having one of the best defensive cores in all of the league last year. It's stupid. Once that happens, I'm going on another rant, by the way, an actual a full one. Once that happens, and once Carolina trades Brett Pesce and brings in Tony DeAngelo, and they get nothing in return,
and they also already have Brent Burns.
Hey, Josh, guess what we were talking about? We were talking about the draft. Yeah, you have yet to name your losers and your winner. Who is your winner of the draft?
Do you want to know who won the draft? The Buffalo frickin' Sabres won the draft, getting Zach Benson at 13.
He did say Chicago. He did say Chicago.
No, but no, I will kind of say Zach Benson is a phenomenal player. If he was 2 inches taller, he'd be a top 3 pick. Him and Tage Thompson together are so good.
Also, I think we've learned over the years that size is not that big of an issue in the NHL. Yeah. Tyler Johnson had the same issue, and he became a great player. Like we've seen it Johnny Hockey had a little bit of an issue, but he was also just too good. Like we've seen size not be a factor. So for him to fall to 13 and play on a team that has so much young talent, Owen Power, Rasmus Dahlin, Casey Middlestad still technically a little bit young. You've got Alex Tuck, Tage Thompson,
JJ Peterka, and their prospect Devin Levi,
Jack Quinn.
This team is that team is making the playoffs this year. Like the Boston Bruins are missing, and the Buffalo Sabres are making the playoffs.
And who does Zach Benson play for in the WHL?
Oh, I can't remember.
Winnipeg Ice.
Winnipeg. They are getting moved. By the way, they are relocating because
they moved to
Who's also on the Winnipeg Ice that the Sabres have? Matthew Savoy.
Yes,
they drafted 8th overall last year.
Buffalo's. They're finally doing it right, and I'm so happy.
Kevin Adams has done a phenomenal job up in Buffalo.
That fan base deserves so much, and that rebuild is finally going in the right. Like they have everything. They have sturdy defense. They have a good mix of young and veteran talent up front, and they have probably the best goalie prospect in all of hockey in Devin Levi. So, besides Yaroslav Askarov, who almost got moved at the draft.
Yeah, Barry Trotz has been just
okay. I know we're not doing losers yet, but the biggest loser of the entire draft was us at fans getting absolutely 0 trades in the first round. It was so boring.
Well, that I was listening to this. That speaks just to how good this draft class was. Everyone wanted their guy.
Yeah, but Nashville almost traded their premier goaltending prospect to move up to 4, and then they didn't, and it would have been so funny.
Okay. So my winner, of course, I have to
bias.
Okay, Desher was biased, and it's still also true. But first, I think the Detroit Red Wings were a really big winner. Getting Axel Sandin Pellikka, and they still have Moritz Seider. That is going to be a deadly.
They also drafted Nate Danielson.
Yes, and Nate Danielson. It's my turn. Shush.
Can I mute you?
I don't know a lot about Nate. I don't know a lot about Nate Danielson, but Sandin Pellikka, oh my gosh, this guy can flat out fly. He's one of the best skating defensemen in the draft. He's an excellent playmaker, has a decent shot. I loved that pick. And also, Josh, you were alluding to it. Trey Augustine in the second round, probably going to be one of the best young goalies in college hockey this year, playing at Michigan State.
If he learns how to stop pucks up high, he's going to be very, very good.
So that was excellent. And, they still have Sebastian. They still have Sebastian Kosa. So I think the Red Wings did a really, really good job.
They've gotten the best goalie prospect. Like 2 straight years now. They've gotten the best goalie prospect.
No, Kosa was 2021.
It was 2 years ago. So they've still got in 2 out of the last 3 years have gotten the best goalie prospect.
Yeah. So they did an excellent job.
I was going to say
Moritz Seider and Axel Sandin Pellikka are going to be so nice.
But also, you have to. I would have said that the trade they made was also very good, getting Klim Kostin and Kyler Yamamoto for free. But they just bought out Yamamoto, which I don't agree with.
I feel bad for him. He's been so concussion ridden.
I know, and honestly, I think Detroit's a good fit for him. He's a young guy. It's a change of scenery, and he's shown flashes. He was a top prospect for Edmonton. I think
drafted 22nd in 2017, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
If the Flyers want to keep up their 2017 take over the first draft, which the round 1, which they have Owen Tippett and Morgan Frost.
And I have to say, and Josh, I know you will refuse to admit with me about the winner, but Washington Capitals were a pretty big winner.
It's not. It's because how does Kristoff fall to that far in the second round? By the way, how does he fall?
Because people were concerned about his skating ability, but he's one of the best playmakers in the draft, and he's good. On
can't skate, then that doesn't matter. Skating is not that big of a deal. In all honesty,
that's not true at all. That is not true at all. I'm sorry.
Well, when Ovechkin can stand in one spot and score 700 and something goals, I think he's fine.
822, but fair, I guess. But still, in the modern day, you need to know how to skate.
Ovechkin, he still doesn't skate and scores 40 a year. It's stupid. He does the same thing every game and nobody stops him. It's ridiculous.
So getting their Washington's prospect pool was on the rise. And it was obviously one of the weaker ones in the league for quite some time now, but that's because their window was always open. Now, because they're starting to transition out of the Alex Ovechkin era, they need to restock their farm system. And this year was the perfect year to do it. Ryan Leonard, absolutely loved the pick. Wish it was Mitch Cobb, but Leonard is really good. When I was writing about him, scouts were saying, there is not a lot of holes to his game. He's that good. He's an excellent 200-foot player, has a heavy shot, really good skater, can play physical. He always talks about, I model my game after Matthew Tkachuk and, Capitals, obviously, Tom Wilson. He's going to be so good at Boston College this year, playing with his teammates, Perreault and Will Smith. Absolutely love the pick. And then one of the biggest steals of the draft, and Andrew Crystal, one of the best pure playmakers, was at a point projected to go in the top 10, and you get him at pick number 40. Well done, Washington. Their farm system is looking better as they transition out of the Alex Ovechkin era.
Well, their farm system before the draft was ranked 23rd by some NHL scouts, and it's probably jumping up to about maybe 16, 17, maybe even 15, because they got 2 very good players.
Yep, and it's going to get better.
Well, it's got to get better. I mean, look, they can still offload guys. I mean, Nicholas or Kuznetsov, a guy that probably gets moved this offseason. You have other guys that could get moved off. I mean, TJ Oshie probably is another one that should.
Mantha's been a guy.
Mantha's been a guy for a while. Well, the thing is,
Mantha's not going to get you a good prospect.
The other could
get you a good haul.
The thing that they might do is hold on to them to see if they could get a spark from Spencer Carberry, the new head coach. And the Capitals are going to get younger this year. That is inevitable because
I think if you're the Capitals, I would try to offload Kuznetsov in the offseason and maybe hold on to Oshie until the trade deadline and just see how he plays.
I say Mantha trade deadline. If he doesn't bounce back,
But that's like you're wishing upon a star that he bounces back, and it's very unlikely that he does. And his trade value right now is already ridiculously low because of that cap hit. Like you would literally get like a 7th or a 6th round pick for him.
I was very happy. Washington was one of the winners.
No, they had a very good
winners and some losers. Desher, who was your loser?
Arizona
again.
Yeah,
Arizona. Not even taking the best Russian in the draft.
Said Arizona.
They take Dmitry Simashev at 6. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I think he's the best defenseman in the entire draft. I never really bought into the Reinbacher hype, and apparently Carey Price didn't either because he barely knew how to say his name.
That was so funny.
So, but taking Daniel Butte at 12 as well, I think that's also a reach. He was supposed to go in the 20s. I mean, the whole Arizona situation anyway is just a mess, and it kind of seems like it bled into their draft too. I mean, the only thing they really had going for them is the matching suits. So, like, I don't know what Arizona was trying to do. They did get the best goalie in Herval, I think, in the 2nd round. I think that helps because they do develop goalies solidly well. But I think when you have 2 first-round picks in a draft like this, you could have probably taken Simashev at 12. Obviously I can't guarantee you'd be there, but I think you could probably get a very, very good forward at 6, and then you can get your guy in Simashev at 12.
No, I agree. I think that, like, for a team that had so much draft capital this year, it had like 4 or 5 second round picks or something, and they had 2 top 15 picks, and it seems like they whiffed. Like, Simashev's not bad, but they still whiffed on both of them, in my opinion. Like, they were just better. There were better players out there, and it's just, I don't know your guys' take on this, but I talked a little about the loser being the entire just fan base fans of trades. But I think the Minnesota Wild were a pretty big loser as well. I think Charlie Stramel at 21 is a massive, not necessarily a massive reach, but there was much better talent on the board at 21 than a guy like Charlie Stramel.
Gabe
and
Perreault.
To take him, I mean, Gabe Perreault, Kristoff was still available. I mean, I like Pionk in the later round. I like Riley Heidt as well, but like, this is a team that they're just a very weird team right now. The Minnesota Wild are, like, they have some good young talent, but they also have a lot of older guys, and they cannot get out of the first round. And with what they're doing right now, I don't think they're going to for a while. It's just for a team that needs some oomph. There were oomph guys there, and they just did not take one. They took maybe a safer pick in Charlie Stramel, but I don't think he's going to be anything great. And I mean, Arizona's obviously the big one. You can also argue Montreal as well, considering that the entire fan base wants David Reinbacher like exiled, but
because they wanted Michkov.
They wanted Michkov so bad they could have used him. You know what? I think they need a Jesperi Kotkaniemi type.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe they should try to offer sheet Sebastian Aho. I
think they should do it again, honestly. Well, there is rumor that Aho's contract is going to get signed like either tomorrow or Saturday. It's rumored at 8 by 9.5, which is great value. Love that. But I think for what Stramel brings to the table, he is not a 21st overall selection, especially with a guy like Kristoff still on the board and Perreault. And there were just so much better talent out there. There really was.
Yeah, Quentin Musty was there too, and I thought he was a really, really, really good prospect for the Flyers to take at 22.
I think he's a great pick by the Sharks.
Yes.
At 26.
Now they have him and Will Smith.
Like, he's not he's not actually the most flashy dude, but getting Will Smith and Quentin Musty, like, for a team that needs, like, more younger talent, that's really good. I mean, Will Smith and Thomas Bordelot are going to dominate for a very, very long time.
They also have William Eklund.
Oh, you're right. They have Eklund too. I mean, there is just so much better talent, and I think Stramel would have been there, like, in the late.
Stramel was probably going to go into the 2nd round because he's a big he's got an NHL body. He's huge. He knows how to protect the puck, but there's no offense there.
But they already have those kind of guys.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Well, there's two kinds of ways you draft, Josh. you take the best player available or a positional need. There's a risk I've heard like going positional need, but
that's like Strammel's not a positional need. Like he's another, like they have a good enough forward core. They don't have defensemen. Matt Dumba's very, very old. Joel Klingberg is just not no.
John Klingberg.
Did I really just say Joel? I got a mix between Joel Eriksson Ek and John Klingberg. And Joel Eriksson Ek, like when we talk about those big body guys, that is all Minnesota has besides Kaprizov. They have Joel Eriksson Ek, who's a big body. They have Matt Boldy, who's a big body. They don't need more. They need a guy like Kaprizov that can actually put the puck in the net, and that's what Perreault is, and that's what Crystal is, and they did not take them. And those are and those still aren't positional needs per se, but they were the best players available. If you want a positional need, you take Bonk, who went a pick later to the Philadelphia Flyers. They need defensemen. They have nobody. They have Addison, and that's about it. They have Addison and Dumba's up there in age. He's not getting any younger. Like
it's just so funny. Oliver Bonk saying, "I'm so excited to wear the orange and the white."
Because there's no black.
A little twisted. There's still time. He can learn. It's the orange and the black, but he'll learn. It's okay. Great prospect. Can't wait to watch him. The London Knights pipeline in Philadelphia right now is huge.
I don't know if Stramel would have been there for Minnesota's second round pick. I can't remember exactly when it was taken. What number it was. I cannot remember.
Who?
Minnesota's second round pick. I'm trying to remember.
Their second round pick.
It was in like the 40s, right?
It was pick number 21 in the second round. So I don't know.
So it would be 42. Yeah, because they were pick number 21 as well. I don't know if Stramel would have been there at 42, but wasn't Crystal there at 40?
Yes.
So Stramel would have been there at 42. It's like they could have got him in the second round. There was no need to reach that high. There was absolutely none. And it's it's annoying. It's dumb because Minnesota deserves better. Those fans deserve better.
So my loser, see, it's hard to pick like Toronto or Edmonton because like they barely had any picks and their window is now. So like they don't need to worry about prospects until like Matthews is like 32 or 35 or,
They got a long ways to go.
They got a long way to go. Honestly, I'd probably say the Islanders because the Islanders are in that weird area where, like,
their prospects are just
they have the worst farm system. They have the worst farm system in the National Hockey League, and it's not close. Like, and this was the
I'd say Tampa and Pittsburgh are still miles worse, and Colorado, for a while now that all their prospects are basically in the NHL. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Islanders are very, very weak in their prospect pool, but I just think Tampa is worse because of the fact that they've traded every single guy and they don't have a first round pick for the next 5 years. But you're not wrong.
Yeah, the Islanders in a draft filled with talent and a farm system that is terrible. How do you not have a first round pick? Like, I don't know. What do they trade their 2023 first for?
Bo Horvat along with they traded that.
That's right. They traded Atu Ratti. They traded Atu Ratti in that. So it's tough, but I think the Islanders were definitely one of the losers. I mean, I don't know how good next year's draft is going to be.
Very good.
I know it's going to be very good, but I don't.
Not as deep, but there's still a good amount of talent.
So there's still time,
extremely top heavy. Extremely top heavy.
So, that was unfortunate for Islanders fans. Tim Rogers, unfortunately, is not here, but I'm sure he knows the New York Islanders were one of the losers.
I do still think if you're the Islanders, you take Bo Horvat. Honestly, I will take face here and say that I did not like the Bo Horvat trade at all. I thought they overpaid. But they were able to sign him. And I mean, the first round pick, yeah, it's tough. But it's still one of those things where like Bo Horvat did what he needed to do until playoff time. Like he was one of the reasons that the Islanders got back in the playoffs because he was just so good. But I mean, I don't know. So where did that pick end up? Because it was Vancouver's, but Vancouver didn't keep it.
No, I think they did. They had Willander.
Yeah, but the Islanders pick was not 11.
Well, then I don't.
Did it go? Did it not go into the Blues somehow? Blues had 2.
Or Toronto? Maybe it was Toronto in the Mikheyev trade.
I don't know. I'd have to look.
Also, maybe this is me, but like just looking at it, I think Tom Willander at 11 was a bit of a stretch.
Not really.
He fits.
Defensemen were starting to go off the board. They needed one.
That's true.
And he was the next guy available. I can't say best guy available because maybe someone.
No, Sandy Pellica was right there. And Vancouver loves their Swedes. So,
all right, let me look at this. They got the first round pick, 2023. Oh my God, wait, that's right. They traded to Detroit for Philip Hronik. Oh my God. Okay, so the first round pick that was traded in the Horvat trade became ASB. So Detroit just like for getting rid of Philip Hronik, who was not really that good, gets the best skating defenseman in the entire draft.
Wow. And also, honestly, I think we're all in agreement on this. Jaeger for Pittsburgh was a bit of a stretch at 14. Jaeger's a really good player, and he could shoot a puck. Like, he is a really, really good shooter. But
his numbers took a dip.
But it's similar to
he was top 10. Like during the preseason, he was top 10, and then his stock went further and further down. So same with Ethan Gauthier. He was kind of that similar boat.
Yeah. It's similar to the Wild where like, sure, it feels like maybe it doesn't necessarily fill a need. I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins need a lot of needs because their prospect pool is so dry. But again, there were better guys there. I do think they probably would take, if Benson did not go 13, I think for sure they take Benson at 14. Like, there's no way they don't.
I thought Pittsburgh would have taken Perel.
Pro fits better with them, honestly. I think he really does.
Yeah. And Colby Barlow fell to the Jets, which was something I didn't expect either.
I was very high on Colby Barlow. I would not have
want him on the Capitals at one point if Mitchell wasn't there. He was not a top 10 pick.
Colby Barlow was Jacob's first love. He was so obsessed.
The Capitals, if we're talking about positional needs, the Capitals needed someone who could score because they could not finish anything last year. Offense struggled big time. They needed a high-end pure goal scorer in their system. And
so you're telling me that if you had the option, so let's say that
if Michkov was there, I would have taken Michkov.
No, I'm not. No, if Michkov is off the board, if you have to pick between Zach Benson and Colby Barlow, who are you taking?
Oh God, you're gonna put me on spot.
This should not be that hard of a decision.
Well, here's the thing: Benson can score, but not as good as Barlow. I mean,
Zach Benson's the best skater in the draft. You guys have no speed.
No, Benson, his skating's a little weird. He's more of the guy who sets up everyone everywhere, no matter where the stick is. But he finished the WHL.
Its draft was filled with playmakers. And the Caps got Crystal at 40. They needed a goal scorer.
I mean, yeah, but you can't. There's no way you're gonna Colby Barlow over Zach Benson. I projected top 5 pick in any other draft. And not okay.
Well, no, that was when I was first starting to write, and then I saw Benson. I'm like, okay, I could,
Well, Desher told you about Benson. I feel like is what really happened because
I wrote about him.
Well, Desher's our prospect expert. Let's be real here.
Yeah. Okay. So are we moving on to free agents?
Yeah,
that's tomorrow. Big storyline today. Matt Duchene getting bought out the final 3 years of his contract because Barry Trotz wants to change the culture. Remind me so much.
What a
guy get out. That's
going to be.
That came as a surprise, but what do we think of that, and where does he end up? I don't
like the buyout move because I think honestly you can keep him till the deadline and get assets for him.
It hurts them in the long term too, because when you buy someone out, their cap hit doubles. So instead of 3 years, it's now 6 years.
I mean, it's less money.
Yeah, but it's still you're dealing with
money on the books.
6 years.
I don't know if Nashville thinks that they're going to be really competitive in the next 6 years.
They're also in that weird spot where they have talent, but it's not happening well.
They're a very weird team. Well, because they have those guys, Roman Yossi and Philip Forsberg are like the two main guys that are still left, and they can both still score. But then the young guys that came up were playing really, really well for the second half of the season, and they almost made the playoffs with a team that was full of a bunch of guys that should have been on an AHL team. So like, I think they're just going to stick the course.
Yeah,
I think Matt Duchene is a perfect fit for a lot of teams.
They also got rid of Ryan Johansson. So
for nothing.
That
one was weird.
For
Barry Trotz is rehauling.
Well, it's not even a rehaul because they just got rid of Galchenyuk's contract anyways, too. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's the contract of Galchenyuk, if anything.
He's been around so many teams recently, Galchenyuk.
I think he's been traded to like half the league. He was a Carolina Hurricane at one point.
That is true.
So was Patrick Marleau, my king. Patrick Marleau became Seth Jarvis. I love life sometimes.
Yeah, but
it's
some
so
other
crazy.
buyouts that we saw was...
Does he get more than, what was he making? $8 million?
Which was, free agency, you're going to get a lot more than you probably should.
He was overpaid.
More.
He was overpaid a lot during that free agency period. So I think he gets less. I would say for him, he's 32. And the thing is, I think you see a lot of 1-year contracts tomorrow when free agency starts, because I think this would be a big cap hit improvement, a big cap jump next year, because that'll be like the first like post-COVID.
And this free agency is not as good.
It's also just not as good. Your top guy on the market that is Matt Duchene is Matt
it's Matt Duchene
or Michael Bunting.
Well, Patrick Kane's still out there, but
but Patrick Kane's also not playing.
Yeah.
He's not going to be playing hockey for several months, and honestly, like, he's past his prime, and he can't play defense. So, I think that for
he
a guy
goes
like
back to Chicago for a 1-year deal and retires.
I think if it's a 1-year, if you give Duchene a 1-year deal, he gets $6 or $7 million, maybe that's 6.5, maybe upper fives. I think for a multi-year deal, you're looking at 4.5 to 5 million for a guy like Matt Duchene, and I think he would be a very good fit in a lot of places. I think the perfect fit, I'm going to continue to say it, is the Carolina Hurricanes, who desperately need a second line center. And no, stop. No.
60-point guy, Kevin Hayes.
Matt Duchene can score, and they don't have to give up anything in the process like they would for Elias Lindholm. And I want my sweet baby Lindholm back home. But if Matt Duchene is free, get Matt Duchene.
So let's say this. You get Elias Lindholm and Noah Hannafin in the same deal. What would you give up? Because everyone in Calgary is jumping ship right now.
Apologies, technical difficulties. So we had to cut. I forget what we were talking about, Josh.
We were talking about Matt Duchene. Okay, now I was talking about Brett Pesce and the fact that Carolina, for some reason, is like looking to trade a guy. When I don't know about you guys, but if I'm a team that's a Stanley Cup contender, I personally keep my best players till their contract runs out, and then relook at that instead of trying to trade a guy. Like, dude, I swear, if they trade Brett Pesce and the replacement is Tony DeAngelo, I will cease to exist. I will disappear from this realm of reality. But I think Matt Duchene is a very good fit for Carolina. And again, we talk about it. If you don't want to trade, because Carolina is not a team that likes doing big trades, right? They do the little ones. Brent Burns and Max Pacioretty were kind of big trades, but they didn't give up a lot in return. Nino Niederreiter trade. The only trade where they gave up a lot was that Dougie Hamilton trade way back when, where they gave up Lindholm and Hannafin. So they're not a team that does big name trades. So I think just signing a guy like Duchene, keeping him, and then going after a guy like Daniel Sprong, who is not getting re-signed by Seattle, a perfect middle six, bottom six guy for a team like Carolina, they did a masterclass bringing back Jordan Staal and Jesper Fast for less than what Jordan Staal's cap hit was last season. Those two combined, like, very good job. But I think, like, ideally for Carolina, if they don't want to trade for Elias Lindholm, sign Matt Duchene and sign Daniel Sprong, and I'm a happy man. And do not trade for Tony DeAngelo. Two out of those three things are very possible. I already know one of them is going to happen, and they're gonna give up a good prospect, and I'm gonna, like, it's gonna be so bad. It's gonna be so bad.
We are forgetting something here. Over the weekend, Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Oh my God,
King. And personally, I think the Kings gave up a little bit too much.
Way too much.
Yes,
that's half. Like,
who was it?
Most of the depth just got taken off.
Velarde, Kempe.
Iafallo. No, it was
Velarde, Iafallo, some like mid-tier defenseman prospect, and a pick.
Capri. Rasmus Capri.
And then wasn't it like a second round pick as well?
Probably, but I think they just gave up too many.
You're betting on a lot. You're counting up.
Does Pierre not even want to be in LA because it seems like he doesn't want to be anywhere?
I know.
You're betting on you. You better expect Pierre-Luc Dubois to put up 100 points for the next 8 years if you're giving up that much.
You're betting on him to stay on a team for more than a season and a half. Like, what are they doing?
And I think the Jets did the right thing. Don't trade him to Montreal. You can get a much better deal somewhere else. Who cares about his feelings?
Yeah, the Jets.
They're buying out Blake Wheeler. Or they bought out Blake Wheeler, I should say. And I mean, I think that I get that they can't get over the hump against the Edmonton Oilers, but this is not a team, like, this does not make the Kings that much better. I think if anything, it makes them worse. Like, Iafallo and Gabe Velarde especially was very hot to start the season. Iafallo was very good in the playoffs. Like, I don't know what they're doing. For a dude that has been a locker room problem for years now and can't stay on a team. When he's healthy and when he actually like wants to try, he can score 40 goals, sure.
He was taken third overall for a reason. It's just like,
when was the last time that we saw him try on the ice?
And like, I don't blame him for not wanting to stay in Winnipeg, but just the fact, like, but it was just such a thing with Columbus too. Like, he didn't try. John Tortorella kicked them off, and then he just didn't like Winnipeg at the tail end of it. He wanted to go to Montreal because, I mean, he's French, really French Canadian. I get it. Like, but hopefully, like I said, if he doesn't like LA, I don't know. Like,
well, here's the thing. LA, by the way, like, they have to pray that this deal works out because there's no way they're going to get anything close in return if they want to ship off Dubois somewhere else. Because there's no way a team's going to take that. It's going to be like his fourth team in 5 years or something ridiculous. Fourth team in like 4 years, maybe. Even like, it's just not like, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I liked what the Kings were doing. I really did. And it just feels like they took a massive step backwards. It really did.
Yeah, we didn't. Good call. We didn't even talk about that yet since we got back on. Speaking of, do we want to talk
like Tyler Toffoli going for nothing?
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then, and then the Devils,
well done.
The Devils, by the way, having Heischer, Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Timo Meyer, Tyler Toffoli,
Dawson Mercer,
Luke Hughes, Dawson Mercer. All of them are signed under $9 million a year. How?
Tom Fitzgerald masterclass. Devils are going to be.
They are the top team. They are the team to beat in the Metro right now. Until free agency is over and until more trades happen, they are the team to beat. And I guarantee you they're going to be pushing for Matt Duchene. If you get Matt Duchene as a third line center, that team is winning it all. They don't have a whole lot of cap space, mind you, but they can offload some guys. They're not offering Boquist a qualifying offer. There's a couple other guys that they are as well. I think McLeod is a guy that they did not RFA. He was solid in their little playoff run.
Yeah, they sent away Severson. They sent away Blackwood because now they have Schmidt and Vanacek as their tandem.
They don't have like actually. Let me.
Who's going to be the starter? I don't know.
Probably going to be
on their what am I trying to say? Their draft, the cap space. Oh, just kidding. They still have $10 million in cap space, but they have to sign Ryan Graves, who I think is testing free agency. Kevin Ball, who I believe they offered. Bastian, Boquist, McLeod, all did not get qualifying offers, and then Thomas Tatar and Miles Wood are UFAs. And I think all those guys are a test free agency. I think Toffoli is their Thomas Tatar replacement. It's probably better. I think is for sure better.
Tyler Toffoli, that was an absolute steal. He's going to fit so well in Jersey with that fast speed.
I apologize.
He's also a gritty forward too.
I apologize. Dougie Hamilton is signed at exactly $9 million, but they still do not have anybody signed over $9 million on this team.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Kind of reminds me of Boston in a way, where like before recently they had like Bergeron and Marchand and Pasta all like $7 million apiece.
Yeah. So you know what I will say about, I know I talk a little bit about Carolina like too much. But they have the fourth most cap space out of any team. And like two of the other teams are Detroit and Ottawa. So like for a team that has Stanley Cup ambitions, they have a lot of money to play with here. And they have to play with it wisely because of the fact that they only have two guys signed next year as of now through the next season. And I believe about $9.5 million of that 20,000 will go to Aho. So they'll still have about like 10 or 11,000 to play with. But that's enough to get a guy like Matt Duchene and a guy like Daniel Sprong or trade for Elias Lindholm. I don't know if they would do that because then a Lindholm will probably walk the next year. But I think reacquiring Lindholm and Hampton would be so funny, and I need my baby boys back.
I want to talk about Tarasenko. I think he should re-sign with the Rangers. I think the Rangers should do everything in their power to keep him because he fits so well there.
He was really, really solid. I mean, he's going to want a lot. They have the cap space to do it. And luckily for them, since Lafreniere has been an absolute bust, they don't have to give him a massive contract. Keandre Miller does need his big boy contract though, as well. So dude, I don't know.
He's so good.
He'll probably get like $5 million.
And Jonathan Quick, I think, is going to go to the Rangers.
Yep, he is. That's going to be their backup. So Shesterkin and Quick is a stupid tandem. It's so stupid. Like stupid and like that's a very good tandem if done correctly.
So I Tarasenko, what was he making before?
Like
Tarasenko was making 7, so I think he'll jump up to 9, and I think the Rangers should do that.
9?
You go from 7 and where do you think?
Like 32. He's 31. He's not getting $9 million at 31. There is no way.
6.5.
The Rangers can't do that. They only have $11 million in cap space right now, and they still have to sign Lafreniere and Miller. There's no way they can do that.
That's true.
I think if he wants to stay, if he wants to take a team-friendly contract, they could do like a 3 or 4 year deal at like $5 or $6 million, maybe. But that's still a lot.
Yeah, but I think they need.
Yeah, but if he was like 26, 27, I can see what you're saying.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying I think Tarasenko needs to stay in New York. I'm curious to see how the Rangers do under Peter Laviolette.
They're having an interesting offseason right now. I don't know exactly what to make of the Rangers are the only team that hasn't really done anything in the Metro. I mean, besides Carolina getting their trade vetoed because they're stupid. But I think a team to really watch out for these next few weeks. I think it's fairly obvious. The Detroit Red Wings.
Yes.
Yzerman is kind of doing like
Seattle just re-signed Joey Decord. Or Seattle signed Joey Decord, who was their goalie. He was their goalie.
Their third string goalie. He
was their number one. He was their number one in Coachella Valley.
Which means he's their third string goalie. Yes.
I thought you were talking about in Coachella Valley that he was their third string. I'm like,
no, I meant in Seattle. He was like
Arizona.
He's one of the goalies.
Arizona State legend. Okay, continue.
So the Detroit Red Wings, like this is a team that not only has Boston's first round pick this year that will probably be top 10 because of the fact that Boston, I think, you said
the same thing about them last year. And
I know I said that last year because they were a wild card team and then they decided to do what they did, but they also got out in the first round. That pick is top 10 protected, so I think Boston will be fine. But they have $30 million in cap space. $30 million. And none of the guys I have to sign are like big name guys. Like Joseph Foligno is maybe like one of the few guys that like, okay, like they'll give him something. Gustav Lindstrom probably like honestly, this team has a lot of money to play with. A lot.
Alex DeBrincat, come on down.
They've said the talks have stalled on that.
He would fit so well.
Well, the Islanders have kicked tires on DeBrincat.
Barzell, DeBrincat, and Horvat would be terrifying. That is terrifying.
Justice for Josh Bailey, though.
He's not dead. He just had to play for he had to be a Chicago Blackhawk for all of 5 minutes.
Yeah. I'll get my tickets for the jersey ceremony there. Retiring his number.
I got tickets for the
Should be an emotional night.
I got tickets for the Patrick Marleau ceremony. It was very emotional opening night. Kane's legend.
If DeBrincat, what would a DeBrincat? He's not a free agent yet, right? They have to trade him.
No. Next,
he's got one more year.
He's got one more year, but he'll want some big boy money most likely. He picked a terrible time.
His reason is he just doesn't want to live in Canada. Like
he just picked a terrible time to have a down year because Ottawa can't really do a whole lot. I think that Ottawa can get some good pieces. The issue is they can't get any good pieces from the Islanders unless they want Oliver Wahlstrom, but they don't need defensemen. They have Shabbat. They have Chikrin. Oh my God, they have Chikrin. I forgot about that.
Claude Giroux.
And he got injured again, I think.
Yeah, he didn't play a whole lot, but that team wasn't making the playoffs. I'm telling you, the Atlantic's going to be real interesting next year. A healthy Senators team, a ridiculously good Sabres team, whatever Detroit decides to do.
Buffalo, whatever Toronto is doing with that core.
Toronto is just weird, man. I don't know what they need to do.
Finally make it out of the first round.
But you know what? If any trade's going to happen,
Brad Treliving does interesting things.
If there's any trade I want that involves Brett Pesce, it's to bring me either Mitch Marner or William Nylander. I prefer William Nylander. Brett Pesce, Jack Drury, and a second for William Nylander. I would do it.
Yeah, the Flyers are going to be very active in free agency because basically their free agency signings are Cam Atkinson and Sean Couturier because they're coming back off of surgeries that have kept them out for over a year. Couturier almost 2 years.
And honestly, they don't need to do anything.
No, because they want to let the kids play, and I really like that idea.
That's what they should be doing.
Because they have some solid prospects in Tyson Forster, who was up for 8 games and he had 6 points or something like that, or 10 games and had 8 points. Really good. Bobby Brink will finally have a full off season to train and recover. So will Joel Farabee, even though he's more of already on the team.
Yeah. Oh, Matt Dumba's a UFA this year. Oh shoot. So that also is another reason why Minnesota should take in a defenseman, by the way. They should have taken Bonk because Dumba, I'm sure he'll resign there, but
the Maple Leafs are looking at Ryan Reeves, and honestly, I like that. They
tried that with Wayne Simmons.
Where do we think Ryan O'Reilly goes?
That's a good point.
Detroit.
I could see it.
They could use a veteran presence. I mean, they have Perron, but
Perron's going to find his way.
O'Reilly's a good. I mean, he could win. O'Reilly can win you face off in any scenario.
He can throw your BioSteel. You can.
Where am I going? Oh, yeah. I think Ryan O'Reilly can suit really any team that needs a stable, second line center that could do the little things right. I think he does that really, really well. So I think,
it's tough.
Maybe.
I was about to say he goes back to Buffalo. I don't know.
No, I don't think he fits their style. Honestly, I wouldn't surprise me
I don't have
Toronto
fun playing hockey anymore here.
It wouldn't surprise me if Toronto decides to keep him. I thought he was really good in Toronto.
I mean, he isn't he from Ontario?
I think so.
So maybe he would be the guy to take because he seems like the guy that would take a team-friendly contract to play for your hometown team.
No, any team that needs a second line center, and I mean O'Reilly wants to. Obviously, any player wants to win, but
I just forgot. So Carolina, I'm going to keep bringing it back to them. Well, because I think all of us forgot that they don't have a single goalie signed besides Kochetkov for next year.
Yanov Perez.
I want Anderson back. I don't because Domino was like, oh, we could do the 3 goalie tandem game. No, you can't. You don't have to if you're trying to build a better roster, you cannot bring back both Ronta and Anderson and have Kochetkov. Because all 3 of those contracts, you need another 1 or 2 year deal for one of those goalies and do a 1A, 1B because you need money to Like, please go after Matt Duchene. Please. Please. For the love of everything holy, Don Turtleneck Waddell, do something, please. That is not just
this free agent class is not very good.
It got better because of Matt Duchene.
Yeah, but still.
But like, he's not like, oh, this guy is going to be your first line center.
Like, what was the big name last year?
All of them. Who was the really big name guy last year? Oh God,
crickets. I should know. No, it was Gaudreau. I knew this.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
Oh yeah, you should know that. He was going to be a flyer, but you couldn't move JVR's contract.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck Fletcher. And then he wants to be an analyst on Sportsnet. You clown.
It's not hard to do business.
He goes to Harvard. You think that's a business school? You think he knows how to do business? He doesn't know how to do business. So right now, with Danny Briere's success, I'm not even going to say his name. It's like Voldemort. Don't even say his name. He who shall not be named.
He who must not be named. That's correct.
I don't want to. Oh, yeah, Matt Vyinchkov was number 2 on our board. Okay, Chuck. All right, bud. Okay. All right. Sure. You would have taken Charlie Strome.
Gaudreau, there was someone else. There was someone else too. I don't know. Anyways, so
there were good players.
I'm intrigued to see where all these guys go. You know, you have Sanheim.
Sanheim
just got signed.
Anywhere.
What?
Sanheim's not going anywhere. He's here for the next 8 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Unlike Torrey Krug.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson's gonna get a league minimum deal. He is not a top free agent.
I know. He is terrible. He was one of the most underrated defensemen for so long, and in Vancouver he was.
Isn't Montour a free agent?
Montour?
Oh
no,
Montour.
He might be this year or next year, but
I think it's next year.
I was gonna say because he would probably be the top defenseman.
Montour is next year.
Okay.
I want to go back to when you said Oliver Ekman-Larsson was an underrated defenseman. Like, it may have seemed like he was good in Arizona, but you know me, I'm a big analytics guy. His analytics were awful. So bad.
They were good.
No, they were awful. That's why everybody laughed at the trade, because it was so bad.
Jacob Slavin, however.
Jacob Slavin has great analytics.
You know who has great analytics? Rasmus Ristolainen.
Oh,
he
yeah.
actually had a good second half of the year, so that's not going to get anything.
Oh, yeah. With his projected WAR of 1%, he was so good.
Yeah.
The Flyers aren't going to try to be good, so, I mean.
All right.
Totally fine.
I think we've covered enough, right? We've covered
Tyler Yamamoto was going to be a Flyer. I'm pretty confident. That's the only thing I can say.
That's
he's 23 years old.
It's not a bad pickup.
He fits kind of the window. 3-year deal.
That's why I'm so confused on why Detroit just didn't even give him a chance. He's young. Like, he could use a change of scenery. Granted, the last time they took a chance on a guy that was young and needed a change of scenery.
He's 5'8", so maybe but
yeah, all right. That's gonna do it for probably this final edition of the over the summer.
Are we not doing a free agency recap?
Oh, yeah, we could do that. Yes, yes. I mean,
we're doing one either June 9th or we're doing one either July 9th or July 10th when Tony DeAngelo becomes the Carolina Hurricane again and I lose my marbles.
Yes, that is right. We didn't even do a playoff recap, but it's okay. It's way past that.
Don't worry. Every single general manager congratulate the Golden Knights for us, okay?
I was going to say
not every team needs to do that.
And David Poile. Yeah. Congrats, David Poile, on his career. And his last pick was a Penn State Nittany Lion and Aiden Fink. Let's go.
Where are we going?
What?
You said let's go. Go where?
Come
on, Barbie, let's go party. Everybody watch the new Barbie movie on July 21st. It could be great.
I'm literally Ryan Gosling.
And with that, thank you for tuning in to the Silky Mitts podcast here on PSSN. Have a great night.